All right, welcome, Mr. Chimonas, and good morning. Today we are so pleased to have you on, this GVMUN platform to interview you on immigration policy today. So, just a bit more context for our audience. Mr. Thanassis Chimonas here is vice mayor on the Athens level for integration of migrants and refugees. His work has spanned over many years in migration policy in Greece, where he's tackled rising issues that we've seen over the past decade in in just migration, which has become a pivotal policy question for all of Europe. And we've seen political parties rise and fall just on the basis of migration alone, with a lot of considerations like human rights, socioeconomic factors, etc. So, Mr. Khmanis, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Thanassis Chimonas. I'm the Vice Mayor on Integration of Migrants and Refugees of Athens, as you said. I have been doing this since January 2024. And in my real life, I'm a writer and a journalist.
Yeah, all right, sounds great. And again, nice to meet you. Let's get into the interview. So, my first question is, across Europe, migration policy often weighs two factors, right? Which is the humanitarian commitment, but also the securitization of borders, protecting, Europe's borders. So, from your perspective, what reforms are most urgently needed at the EU level to create a more coherent and humane migration governance system to weigh those two factors?
It all has to do with the way you are going to treat these people, the migrants and the refugees. We're talking about fast and fair asylum procedures, also to have a more safe legal pathways. And I think the most important thing is to achieve integration from even day one, to give these people an early work access, to help them with the language, to help them with housing. And while we do all this, we have to inform people and to tell the people that live already in these countries that receive the refugees that these people are not a danger for them. They're people that are desperate, and they're people that can even help these countries to go on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I think that while borders, obviously, of sovereign nation must be protected, I think that we do need to see refugees and migrants as humans first and political problems
Yeah,
second.
I have to say that I'm not a fan of open borders. This cannot happen and should not happen. That because
Yep.
this will erase the countries or whole
Right.
countries from the map. Will leave only the dictators without any resistance.
Mhm.
Of course, we cannot have this. We cannot accept this. But we can accept people that come here from help, and we need to help them because you never know who is going to be the refugee of tomorrow.
Mhm.
If you would ask people from Ukraine some years ago, they would never imagine that they would be the refugees of tomorrow. And as we are living in very dodgy times, we don't know what to expect. So anybody can become a refugee one day, and we should remember that.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredibly insightful. And yeah, a lot of these conflicts, we can never tell where or when they're going to happen. So absolutely. On to the next question. We've seen obviously Denmark, I think, in the past 2 years adopt some of the strictest migration and asylum measures, including proposals to outsource asylum processing to third countries and even declaring a goal of, like zero refugees. So, given these developments, are there any risks in Denmark's approach? But at the same time, do you think Europe can learn anything from Denmark's policy approach?
We can learn that they do things we should not do ourselves. And it is. I mean, all this zero refugee thing is even worse than Trumpism. And at least, Donald Trump was elected to do that. The Danish government was not elected literally to do that. That is not possible to have anyway zero refugees. It's in the nature, in the human nature for people to move, to go from different countries to other countries. This happens since humanity exists. I find it is really sad that this happens to Denmark, which is a Scandinavian country, and Scandinavian countries were always very progressive. We're always very progressive, and if they do like this, it's very difficult for us in Greece that we always had a part of the people that were racist. We even had the Nazi party in our parliament some years ago.
Mhm.
It's really sad to see that, and all these governments when they act like this, they say We have to do this, or else the right-wing parties are going to win the elections. But when you want to beat the right-wing parties, when you want to eliminate the right-wing, the extreme right policy, you don't act like them. You do exactly the contrary, the opposite.
Wow. So, and I think the last point is very interesting. Do you think that, like center-left social democratic parties, do you think that this strategy will succeed long term, or will it just lead to increasing, I suppose, right-wing polarization?
No, it will not succeed because they do already what the extreme right parties would do if they were on power, first. Second, but the problem, the social democrat parties and the liberal parties were not elected for that. People that belong in this, that have this ideology, they don't expect that from the people they are voting for. And
Right.
one day, people are going to say that, well, anyway, if we have the extreme right, the original extreme right, and a fake extreme right, we will choose the original extreme right. So this is not going to work either ways.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that answer, and I think again incredibly insightful on the like political level. So moving on, beyond policy, obviously migration is an issue of narratives, and in an era of disinformation and polarization, excuse me, how should European leaders, educators, and the media work together to reshape public perception and promote educated and rational discourse? Because I think, for example, in the UK, we saw, I think it was last year um, essentially anti-migrant riots over what I believe was essentially a false narrative. So how can Europe tackle misinformation?
It's really yeah, exactly. We have fake news everywhere now. This is, well, it seems it's a fault of the internet, but it's not the fault of the internet. It's the fault of us. There were always fake news, but now with the internet, it's only easier to expand. And some people hear what they want to hear. So even if something is not like this, they will believe it's the other way, so they can do whatever they want to do afterwards. As I said in a speech I had in New York, we have to stand against racism. We have to stand against the racist himself. But we should not wag our finger to the ordinary people that they are misled from all this atmosphere, the misinformation, the fake news. We should explain to them that this is not true. That these people didn't come here to conquer the West, as the extreme right people are saying. We need to tell them that these people are not our enemies. And to do that, we should approach these people with respect. We should explain them what is right and what is wrong. We have the truth with us. I think we should not and must not imitate our opponents to use fake news because we have the truth. We have the numbers. We have what is going on. And it's easy when you want to fight the fake news, is to say the truth. It's the only way.
No, absolutely. And I think that it's become such a big issue. And I can see that since, I live in the US, I can see a lot of that myself occurring in my country as well, not just in Europe. So, I do hope that we, as a world, honestly, are able to overcome this massive issue. And second to last, across Europe, many migrants and refugees remain trapped in low skill or informal sectors. I think you kind of touched on this, despite having often experience and qualifications. So, in your view, what changes do we need to make economic integration fair and sustainable for both migrants but also local populations?
There's a myth that all migrants are
Mhm.
illiterate. All migrants do know how to read or write. They are uneducated. That the only do they can do is to work, to go to constructions. This is not true. Many of the people that come here from Asia, from Africa, and from Europe, if there's always Ukraine, many people are doctors, are scientists, are even hairdressers, and all these people can find can help can work immediately in the country they come. So I believe it's very important the career guidance, and it's very important to find already to know where there are some jobs and where are these jobs exist. What we are planning to do in Athens, because Greece is a very centralized country and everything is in Athens. But there are other cities in Greece that they don't have enough doctors. They don't have enough physicians. They don't have, many jobs, many. So it's very important to spot uh, some job opportunities in other cities and help these people that arrive in the country to go and work there. This is very important. I think when we're talking about integration, we're talking about having a job. This is the most strong sign of integration, to have somebody who works where he lives.
Well, and yeah, I think I have to agree 100%. And we see that a lot, obviously, in the US too. I know I'm making a lot of comparisons, but just from what I've seen locally, a lot of migrants here contribute directly to the economy and often through incredibly high skill jobs. I think the US has historically been good at that kind of economic integration. So, possibly
Uh,
um, we
If I
take
can,
a look at some of the approaches that have been used.
if I
But
can interrupt you,
yeah.
we need migrants.
Mhm.
The West need migrants. The West wouldn't exist if they
Yeah.
didn't have migrants.
Mhm.
In 2004, we organized the Olympic Games. It was one of the most successful Olympic Games ever. And we did that also with people that came from other countries. At that time, they were most of them were from Europe, from Albania, from Romania, from Bulgaria. But these countries were not in the European Union at the time. And these people worked and helped us to have the Olympic Games. This is one of the reasons migrants exist in Europe. Is this that we need them? We
Mhm.
cannot survive without them, and we should tell that to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the most important points that we'll probably discuss here today. We do need migrants. I agree. Um, so yeah, on to the final question, which concerns a bit more on your role as the vice mayor. So within that position and, across your years of experience, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that, you could tell everyone working in migration policy or even the general populations of the world even on migration? What's the biggest takeaway here?
What takeaway you mean?
As in, I suppose what's the most important lesson?
The important lesson for us, for the migrants, for
Um, I would say for nations.
I think I have said it already that except what we said that we need migrants, that migrants are not a threat. They can help us in our countries. They can help these countries to progress. I think the key is that you don't know whether you will be the next migrant. You don't know whether you will be the next refugee. In my country, Greece, there were a lot of people that migrated to Germany and to Western European countries in the 50s and the 60s after the war to survive. And they helped these countries, and then they came back to Greece and they helped Greece itself. This is, I spoke before about the example of Ukraine. People in the heart of Europe, living as we live in Greece or in America. And one day there was an invasion, and they had to go to another place to survive.
Mhm.
You can never tell wherever you live. It doesn't have any difference if you are very rich or very powerful, or if you have a great job of a big family. One day everything can collapse. You can become the refugee, and everybody that sees somebody that comes from another country and he don't feel comfortable, he don't like to see different people, he should know that he might be this person in a few years from now, maybe in a few months from now.
Wow. And no, I think those are powerful words. And the issue is that, this type of discourse is being drowned out by, media disinformation or narratives of polarization. But I think that, hopefully we can use this interview to whatever extent possible to bring back some of that more rational and productive discourse. So in that regard, thank you so much for, taking the time out of your day to sit down with us.
Thank you
And
very much. It was a very
yeah,
interesting conversation.
mhm. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it was nice to meet you, and I wish you luck with your career.
Thank you very much.